Nole Insiders Tim Lenefelt and Lane Hurt here with you high atop Doak Campbell Stadium off of Monday's press conference with head coach Jimbo Fisher. Coming off the bye week, first note, team had a productive bye week.
Yeah, and you'd like to hear that, of course, but Jimbo Fisher said that the bye week mattered to the guys. He's saying they use it as a time to get better. Nobody had the attitude of, oh, we don't have a game this week, so we're just going to take it off and take it easy. So they worked on the blocking, tackling, all the kind of basic fundamentals that I think sometimes a lot of teams like to work on their bye week, kind of get back to the basics and relay your foundation, so to speak, and have that work out during the bye week and then get back to your game planning on Monday. And it sounds like Florida State's on schedule with where they want to be in that regard.
Also a chance to rest some bumps and bruises, which leads us to a couple of player statuses. Bobo Wilson, you asked the question. Jimbo said he could practice today, so he's getting better. And then, of course, Derwin James as well. No real answer there, but I think people would be really surprised Derwin would be ready for this weekend.
Yeah, and that kind of dovetails with what Jimbo said last week at his call-in show, was that the Clemson game, which is, of course, Saturday, would be sort of the earlier end of any type of timetable for Derwin James to return. He was non-committal today. Look, I mean, they're going to keep monitoring him and seeing if he takes a big upswing this week and he's available. I'm sure they'll get him back out there, but as of right now, it sounds like they're still kind of in wait-and-see mode, and that there hasn't been a whole lot of developments on that front. And the same goes for Bobo Wilson. Last we were able to ask about him was last Tuesday. It sounds like he was able to avoid a serious injury, which I know we all feared during that Wake Forest game when we saw him on the sideline in crutches. But the fact matters, it sounds like he didn't practice last week and he hasn't returned yet. You're hopeful that he can make it back out there today. If he does, then I would think that would mean that he has a pretty decent chance to play on Saturday. But the longer he goes without practicing, of course, the less chance that he would have to play on Saturday.
Of course, the defending national runner-ups, the Clemson Tigers, number 2 in the nation in one poll, 3 in the other, undefeated this year. This is a great football team, possibly the best and most well-rounded team Florida State's seen this year.
Yeah, they're really good. Obviously, it starts with Deshaun Watson, the Heisman finalist from last year. Continues just the absolute gauntlet of quarterbacks that the Florida State defense has played. We can split hairs between him and Lamar Jackson, who's better at what and who's more dynamic, who's more explosive. But the fact is, it doesn't matter because Florida State has to play both of them. Deshaun Watson is up next. Wayne Gallman, if he's available, we don't know about him just yet. He had the concussion a couple weeks ago. I don't think his status is quite certain, but he's one of the best running backs in the ACC, if not the country. He's great. Their receivers are very talented. And then you flip it over to the other side of that defense, where the defensive line is probably the best, certainly the best Florida State will play, and maybe the best in the country as well. So going to be a big challenge there. You got to imagine they're going to do everything they can to bottle up Dalvin Cook and make Florida State's passing game beat them. So that's going to be a challenge for Florida State. Not to say that they can't rise up and meet that challenge, but that's what they're up against. It's a great team, but it's also a team that hasn't won in Tallahassee in 10 years. So you got a little bit of history going for you, and maybe a little bit of that mojo, so to speak. So it's going to be a challenge for FSU, but I do think that having the bye week will help, and just knowing that it's a big rivalry game at home, I think it's going to work in Florida State's favor.
There you have it, Seminole fans. Of course, we'll have much more for you this week as Florida State gets ready for that huge primetime matchup against Clemson. And don't forget, we'll have 1st and 10 on Friday, our Nole Insiders game preview on Friday, and of course the 3 keys on Saturday as Florida State gets ready for Clemson. So for Tim Lenefelt, I'm Lane Hurt. Go Noles.